Hello Bookfinders, it's Thursday, September 30th, and this week is Banned Books Week. So I read Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, and I was really excited to read this book, because I was supposed to read it in high school for one of my English classes, and I ran out of time back then and ended up doing it SparkNote style. So when I went into it, I already knew the plot. I already knew what the book was about and the themes and that sort of thing before I had ever even read it. So I was really expecting to love it because I already knew what the book was for the most part. And then when I was reading it, did not love it. I wanted to, but I just couldn't. Because I disagree with some of the suggestions in the book. And it's not that I didn't understand the book, I understood it. I mean, you would have to be, like, deeply stupid to not get what the book is trying to say. It's not, very obscure. I guess what bothers me about it is this suggestion that there's this inherent moral code that's just already implanted in our brains or something, from the beginning. And that morality and ethics, they're not social constructions or in any way subjective, but there's this one morality. And everyone knows what it is deep inside of them somehow. And when you deviate away from that, it's just going to lead to ultimate destruction and the world will end. And I don't think that you can rationally make that suggestion, because obviously morality and ethics have changed drastically over the years and from country to country. I mean, it's pretty obvious that morality is not an inherent thing. And I don't think you can even agree with it coming from a religious perspective, well, any religious perspective, because every religion has a moral code and guidelines of how people should act. Because it contradicts with the religious idea of right and wrong, and the idea of free will, and that people choose to do good, not that they're programmed to do good. Or evil, for that matter. It goes both ways. And, I mean, I don't know how you can justify this idea of an inherent morality. And that's the foundation of the book. And so I guess that's why I didn't like it, because it read like propaganda, almost. And I guess that's the irony of book banning, really, because this book was banned probably because of all of its references to erotic play and the rampant promiscuity and all of that stuff. But if you read the book and you're not completely stupid, you'll understand that it's arguing against that. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's heavy-handed, really. So essentially, book banners are banning books that promote their cause. And I guess book banning is just so infuriating for that reason, but it's also kind of funny. Especially when they're trying to ban, like, Fahrenheit 451. That was actually the book I was going to read this week, but then Sarah said she was going to read it, and then she didn't, and now it's just sitting on the shelf not being read by anybody. But it just, like, tickles me when book banners try to ban Fahrenheit 451 because it's a book about the dangers of banning books. And I guess I feel like if book banners would read books more often rather than trying to get rid of them, they would stop making themselves look like idiots. I mean, at least if you're going to try to ban a book, try to ban it for a good reason. And don't make yourself look like a fool by trying to ban a book that promotes your cause. So let's talk about the book I read last week, because I had some timing issues. I read my book last week, and I actually even filmed a video, but I ran out of time when I was editing it. I got like a third of the way through and already made myself late for work, so it just didn't happen. So I'm sorry. And I will be getting punished, and I will let you guys know when I have a time picked out to do that punishment. Right, so last week I read An Abundance of Katherines by John Green, and I don't have that book with me right now, so you'll just have to imagine what it looks like. I find it kind of difficult to talk about John Green books now that I'm sitting here filming it, because it's so personal. John Green isn't just like the name on the cover like it is with every other author we read. He's like this person that's a part of our collective consciousness, and we feel like we know him, and so it's hard to look at a book in the same way. because you don't really want to criticize like you might before, and you're willing to forgive things that might irk you otherwise, and it's hard to do an honest critique of it. With that in mind, I do love An Abundance of Katherines. I loved it the first time I read it, I loved it the second time around, and I think that it kind of gets the shaft in a lot of ways. Everyone talks about Paper Towns and Looking for Alaska, which are wonderful books as well, but An Abundance of Katherine is just so good. It's so, I mean, it's funny and it's fun, and I think maybe part of that is because it really only applies to people of a certain age in a certain point in their life, and so it's not really as broad spectrum applicable like, say, Looking for Alaska is, but it's, I mean, if you are of that certain age and that certain time, it is perfect. The one criticism that I do have of it is that through the whole book, it's about dating and love, and he's trying to get over this girl that he's loved for forever, and that's great. But it doesn't, I feel like it doesn't really answer the question of, like, how do you move on? How do you get over this? Even though that's the topic of the book. And I mean, I almost feel like the message is be okay with being mediocre and find yourself a new girl. Because with Colin, the only way he gets over Catherine the 19th is by going into another romantic relationship. So I feel like that he didn't really get over her. He just redirected his feelings at someone else. And I know that's not what John Green was trying to suggest with this book, because he's criticized many times in his Vlogbrothers videos the idea that romantic love is the only important kind of love. But it's still, that is still kind of the message that I get out of the whole thing. Like, he doesn't learn to be okay on his own and or whatever, become an empowered man of the new millennium or anything like that. He just goes on a road trip and gets a new girlfriend. And I'm so bothered by road trips in books that solve everyone's problems. Because, I mean, I get the metaphor. I get the metaphor about, you know, moving on and change and whatever. I mean, I understand it, but it's just been done so many times, and road trips do not solve all of your problems. Guys, don't believe this. If you go on a road trip, you will end your road trip in the exact same way that you started it, just a little more cramped from sitting in a car for so long. Road trips don't solve all of your problems. And getting a new girlfriend isn't going to solve the problems that you've had in all of your past relationships. You'll probably keep doing the same thing that you did in every other relationship until you figure out what the problems were in the first place and fix it and decide to be different. But keep in mind, I love An Abundance of Katherines. It's a great book. I would recommend it. And questions. I don't remember if any of you asked any questions. And that's over the course of 2 weeks. I'm sure somebody did, but I can't remember them right now. So if I miss them, I'll try to answer them next week, because I just don't remember. I probably should have watched your videos again to see if you did, but I didn't. So my question for you this week is based on An Abundance of Katherines. If you've read the book, you know that he has this theory about life that people are either dumpers or dumpies. So they're either the person that gets dumped or the person that does all the dumping. And you may cross the line every once in a while, but everybody has a tendency. So that's my question. Are you a dumper or are you a dumpy? And this can apply to friendships too. Not just romantic relationships, though it's a little easier to tell in romantic relationships. When I first read the book, I like related with Colin. I'm like, I'm a dumpy. I know how that feels. I'm that person. But then the more that I think about this question and past relationships, I don't know if that's true. I mean, if you look statistically, I have been dumped, I think from almost every relationship I've ever been in. But I can't really say it was against my will in almost any case. I tend to go with the soft landing approach. So when I'm tired of being in a relationship, I tend to just be a really bad girlfriend until they decide to dump me. And I know that's really like passive aggressive and not something that you should do. But at the same time, everyone's happy. They're happy they're not in the relationship anymore. I'm happy that I don't have to feel guilty about dumping them. It's best for everyone. So I don't know what that makes me, but that's my answer. What about you guys? So this week I'll be reading It's Too Late to Say I'm Sorry by Joey Camo. It's a really small book, and I've read it before. I want to have time to reread The Hunger Games before we all talk about it, and so that's why I'm going with a very little book this week. But I'm excited to read it because it's been a few years. That's all I have for you today. Julia, I will see you tomorrow, and best wishes.